9 years of marriage, and my wife, Emily, ended it with one sentence. But she'd been planning it for 8 months. And the real reason? It'll make your skin crawl. I pulled into our driveway at 6:30 p.m., same as always. The Denver suburb's quiet, except for a neighbor's lawnmower, humming somewhere. My beat-up Toyota Corolla rattled as I killed the engine, and I grabbed my laptop bag from the passenger seat. The house looked normal. Red brick, white shutters, the aspen tree we planted when we moved in 5 years ago swaying in the breeze. But something felt off the second I stepped inside. No smell of dinner, no clatter of pots or Emily's usual Spotify playlist, some indie band she swore was life-changing. Just silence, thick and heavy, like the air before a storm. I dropped my keys on the hall table, the jingle echoing. Em, you home? I called, kicking off my sneakers. The living room was spotless. No coffee mugs on the table, no throw blanket crumpled on the couch. Weird. Emily wasn't a neat freak, but this place looked staged, like a real estate open house. I wandered toward the kitchen, my socks sliding on the hardwood, and there she was, leaning against the fridge, arms crossed. She wasn't in her usual post-work pajamas, no baggy sweatshirt or messy bun. Instead, she wore a fitted black dress, the kind she'd save for date nights, and her hair was down, curled, like she'd spent time on it. My stomach twisted. You going somewhere? I asked, half laughing, trying to shake the unease. She didn't look at me, just stared at the floor, her lips tight, like she was rehearsing something. Then she said it. We're done, Mark. Her voice was flat, like she was reading a script. I blinked, my brain scrambling to catch up. Done with what? The patio project? I said, chuckling, because that's how dense I was. I thought she meant some weekend chore we'd been bickering about. She finally met my eyes, and hers were cold, like I was a stranger. No, this marriage, us, it's over. The words hit like a sucker punch. I stood there, keys still dangling in my hand, my mouth half open. The fridge hummed, loud and annoying, cutting through the silence. What are you talking about? I managed, my voice cracking. We were fine. We are fine. I thought about last weekend, grabbing burgers at Cherry Cricket, laughing about her coworker's bad Zoom filter. Had I missed something? Was I that clueless? Emily sighed, like I was exhausting her, and turned to grab a glass from the cabinet. I've been thinking about this for a while, she said, filling it with water from the sink. I need space. To grow. To be me. Her words sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced them in front of a mirror. I stepped closer, my heart pounding. Space? Em, we've been together 9 years. You don't just decide this out of nowhere. Talk to me. She set the glass down, hard enough that water sloshed onto the counter. I've talked to Linda Morrison, she said, still not looking at me. Linda. Her family's friend? The divorce lawyer? My knees buckled. She'd already lawyered up? How long had this been in motion? You've seen a lawyer? I whispered, my voice barely there. Without telling me? It's not about you, Mark, she snapped, finally facing me. It's about what I need. Someone who gets me, who sees me. Her words stung, each one sharper than the last. Someone who gets her? What was I, then? The guy who paid the mortgage, fixed her laptop, held her when her dad had that heart scare 2 years ago. I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. Who's seeing you, Emily? I asked, my voice low, almost a growl. Who's this someone? She froze, just for a second, then shrugged. You're making this harder than it needs to be. But I caught it, the flicker in her eyes, the way her fingers tightened around her glass. I thought of James, the Pilates instructor she'd mentioned a few times. James from class, she'd called him, casual, like he was just some gym bro. But now, the way she'd said his name months ago replayed in my head. A little too warm, a little too often. I looked around the kitchen, really seeing it now. The sink was empty, no dirty dishes. The mail on the counter was stacked neatly, not the usual chaos of bills and junk. Her purse sat by the door, packed and ready, like she was halfway out already. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. She'd been planning this, cleaning up, tying loose ends while I was at work debugging code and thinking about what we'd binge on Netflix tonight. The betrayal burned, hot and bitter in my chest. Ever been blindsided like that? I wondered, my thoughts spiraling. Someone you trust, pulling the rug out from under you? I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my throat felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air. Instead, I just stood there, staring at her, this woman I thought I knew. The fridge hummed again, louder, like it was mocking me. I noticed her left hand. No wedding ring. The tan line, where it used to be, was faint, like she'd stopped wearing it weeks ago. "How long, Em?" I asked, my voice shaking. "How long have you been planning this?" She didn't answer, just sipped her water, her eyes darting to her phone on the counter. That phone, she'd been glued to it lately, smiling at texts, taking it to the bathroom. I hadn't thought much of it. I trusted her. God, I was an idiot. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door. "I'm staying at a friend's tonight," she said, like she was popping out for groceries. "We'll talk logistics tomorrow." Logistics. Like our marriage was a project to dismantle. I wanted to grab her arm, make her face me, but my feet wouldn't move. The door clicked shut behind her, and I was alone, the house so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. I sank onto a bar stool, my laptop bag still slung over my shoulder. Her ring was gone. She'd lawyered up. And James. That name stuck in my craw, sharp and jagged. I stared at the spot where she'd stood, her words echoing. Someone who gets me. What did that even mean? And why did it feel like she'd been rewriting our story for months, while I was still living in the old version? I pulled my phone out, my thumb hovering over her contact. Call her, text her, beg her to explain. But then I saw it. Her phone, still on the counter. She'd forgotten it in her hurry to leave. The screen lit up with a notification, and I froze. A text from Jay. Just one letter, but it hit like a freight train. I didn't touch it. Not yet. But I knew, deep in my gut, that whatever was on that phone would change everything. My eyes drifted to the empty spot on her finger again, the ghost of her ring staring back at me. How long has she been planning this? I asked myself, the question clawing at my insides. Whatever came next, I wasn't ready for it. But I was damn sure I wasn't going to stay in the dark. My job as an IT guy taught me one thing. You can delete your history, but nothing's ever truly gone. Emily didn't know that. She thought she'd covered her tracks, but I was about to unravel every secret she'd buried. 3 days after Emily dropped her bombshell, we were still under the same roof, playing this bizarre game of pretend. I'd wake up to the smell of coffee, find her in the kitchen pouring a mug, same as always. "How's work?" she'd ask, stirring sugar into her cup, her voice light, like she hadn't just blown up our marriage. I'd mumble something about deadlines, my jaw tight, and she'd nod, already half gone, her eyes glued to her phone. She'd smile at the screen, her fingers flying over the keys. And I'd feel like a ghost in my own house. Who was she texting? Why was she so damn happy? I hadn't touched her phone yet, still sitting on the counter where she'd left it that first night. But the temptation was eating me alive. She was different now. In ways I hadn't noticed before. She'd take 45-minute showers, not her usual 15. Coming out smelling like some new perfume. Floral, sharp, not the lavender stuff she'd used for years. She'd leave the house in yoga pants and a sleek jacket, her hair blown out, saying she was running errands. Errands that took 3 hours. I'd sit at my desk, trying to focus on code, but my mind kept replaying her words. Someone who gets me. That phrase was a splinter under my skin, and every time I saw her sneak a glance at her phone, it dug deeper. Ever been around someone you love, but they feel like a stranger? It's like living with a roommate who knows all your habits but doesn't give a damn about you. I started noticing things I'd missed. 8 months ago, I'd upgraded our family data plan because Emily kept burning through hers. Work stuff, she'd said, shrugging. I hadn't questioned it. Now I wondered what kind of work needed 20 gigs a month. She never left her phone unattended anymore, not even when she showered. She'd tuck it into her pocket, or clutch it like a lifeline, and I'd catch her checking it. In the middle of the night, the screen's glow lighting up her face, while she thought I was asleep. One night, I couldn't sleep, my brain churning. I got up, padded to the living room, and started poking around. Not snooping, not yet, just looking for something, anything, to make sense of this. In a drawer under a stack of old bills, I found one of her planners, the kind she used before everything went digital. It was from last year, dog-eared and forgotten. I flipped through it, my heart pounding, and there it was, in her neat handwriting. James, 8 p.m., Lumina Sky Bar. The date was 7 months ago, right around when she started getting into Pilates. Lumina Sky Bar. My stomach dropped. That was our place. Our first date 10 years ago, sipping overpriced cocktails under string lights, her laughing at my bad jokes. We'd gone back every anniversary, made it our thing. And now? She was meeting James there? The betrayal felt like a knife, twisting slow. I sat on the couch, the planner open in my lap, staring at that entry. I could see it, Emily at Lumina, her hair catching the light, smiling at some guy who wasn't me. My hands shook. I wanted to storm into the bedroom, shake her awake, demand answers. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed more. I needed proof. The next day, Emily was out, another errand, and I grabbed the iPad we shared for Netflix and bills. She'd forgotten to log out of Venmo, her account still linked. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the app. This felt wrong, like crossing a line. But she'd crossed one first, hadn't she? I opened it, and my heart sank. Transaction after transaction, all to James W. $85 for dinner at a steakhouse, $47 for Uber, $12 for coffee, $2,703 total over 6 months, all from our joint account, our account, the one we'd built for emergencies, for our future. Every charge was a punch to the gut. I scrolled further, my eyes burning. A $200 dinner at a place we'd never been, a $65 bar tab on a night she'd told me she was at book club. Book club, my ass. I leaned back, my head spinning. $2,000, siphoned off for him. I thought about the times I'd skipped lunch to save a few bucks, the overtime I'd pulled to pad that account, and she was spending it on James? I could picture him, tanned, smug, probably flashing a grin that screamed, "I'm better than you." I didn't even know what he looked like. But I hated him. Guess what I did next? I could have confronted her, waved the iPad in her face, but I wasn't ready. I needed to be sure, to have something she couldn't talk her way out of. So I kept digging. That night, Emily was in the shower, her phone locked in the bathroom with her, but her MacBook was on the dining table, still open from when she'd been working. I sat down, my pulse racing. This was it. If I was wrong, I'd feel like a paranoid jerk. If I was right, I didn't want to think about it. Her password was the same as always. Our anniversary plus her cat's name. Sloppy M. I clicked into LinkedIn, figuring she might have messaged someone there, somewhere less obvious than text. And there it was. A thread with James Wilson. My hands went cold. The messages were short but damning. "Can't wait for tonight," he'd written a week ago. "You're finally doing it?" Her reply, "Telling him tonight. Then we're free." Free. That word hit like a brick. She wasn't just leaving me. She was planning a whole new life. One where I didn't exist. I sat there, the screen glowing, my throat tight. The shower was still running, steam creeping under the bathroom door. I could hear her humming, some pop song, carefree, while I was falling apart. Telling him tonight. She'd meant that first night, when she'd laid out her "we're done" speech. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. She'd been building this exit strategy for months, maybe longer, and I'd been too busy fixing servers and paying bills to notice. Ever had a moment where your whole world flips, like you're standing on solid ground, then it's quicksand? That was me, staring at that MacBook, the cursor blinking like it was mocking me. I thought about Lumina, our first kiss under those stupid string lights. Now I pictured her there with him, clinking glasses, laughing while I was home, clueless. The memory felt tainted, like she'd stolen it and handed it to someone else. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking. The planner, the Venmo transactions, the LinkedIn messages, they were pieces of a puzzle, and I was starting to see the picture. Emily wasn't just leaving, she was erasing me. But I wasn't done yet. I grabbed my phone, took a screenshot of the LinkedIn thread, and saved it to a folder labeled Work. If she was playing dirty, I'd play smart. The shower stopped. I heard her moving around, probably toweling off, still humming. I stood up, my heart pounding, and slipped the planner back into the drawer. She thinks she's free, I thought, my jaw tight. But I'm just getting started. What I found on Emily's laptop wasn't just proof of an affair. It was a blueprint to erase me from her life. She didn't just betray me, she wanted to bury me. 3 days after I found her LinkedIn messages with James, I was a man possessed. My IT job, debugging servers, untangling code, had trained me to find patterns, to dig until the truth screamed. Emily thought she was slick, but she'd left a trail, and I was following it straight to hell. She was still in the house, still playing her part, making small talk, folding laundry, acting like we were roommates instead of a marriage in ruins. Every smile she flashed felt like a lie. Every "how was your day?" a jab. I'd nod, mumble something, and watch her, waiting for a slip. She didn't know I was already 3 steps ahead. It started with an old iPhone I found in a junk drawer, buried under takeout menus and dead batteries. Emily's old 6S, the one she'd replaced last year. I'd teased her about upgrading, but now I wondered why she'd been so quick to ditch it. I powered it on, half expecting it to be wiped. It wasn't. The thing flickered to life, and when I connected it to our Wi-Fi, it started syncing. Photos, messages, everything she hadn't bothered to delete. My hands shook as the screen filled. 1,847 photos, most from the last 8 months, and way too many with James. Selfies at fancy restaurants. Her head on his shoulder at a rooftop bar, their feet tangled on a hotel bed. One was time-stamped the night she'd told me she was at a work event. I scrolled, my stomach churning, each image a fresh cut. There they were, at a spa. Her in a fluffy robe. Him grinning like he'd won the lottery. The date. The day after she'd told me our marriage was over. She hadn't even waited for the dust to settle. Ever feel like you're watching your life get stolen? Like someone's living the version you were promised, while you're stuck holding the bag? That's what those photos did to me. 9 years of building a life with her, saving for a house, skipping vacations to pay off her student loans. And she was out there, sipping $20 cocktails with some Pilates bro, while I was home eating leftovers. I wanted to smash the phone, but I didn't. I kept digging. Next up, our finances. I logged into our joint bank account, something I hadn't checked in months because I trusted her. Big mistake. The emergency fund we'd built, $23,000 over 5 years, every penny scraped from overtime and cutting corners, was down to $8,000. I froze, my heart pounding. Transaction history showed $15,000 transferred to a new account, one I didn't recognize. Opened in her name and James's. 15 grand. Gone. I saw red, my breath coming fast. That was our safety net, our what-if money for medical bills or a busted furnace, and she'd funneled it to him? For what? I clicked through, my fingers clumsy, and found transfers linked to Venmo payments I'd seen before. Dinners, Ubers, a $3,000 consulting fee to JW Wellness, LLC. James's company, I bet. The guy wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was bleeding us dry. I leaned back in my chair, the room spinning. This wasn't just cheating. It was theft. I thought about the times I'd said no to new gadgets, the nights I'd worked late to make sure we were covered, all for her to hand it over to some guy who probably couldn't spell commitment. But there was more. I went back to her MacBook, the one she'd left open like she thought I was too dumb to check. Her password hadn't changed. Still our anniversary, which felt like a sick joke now. I opened her documents folder, and there it was, a file called Wellness Vision 2025. I clicked, and my jaw dropped. It was a business plan, 20 pages of charts and buzzwords for a holistic wellness center in downtown Denver. Emily and James were listed as co-founders, with a budget that included $15,000 for initial setup. My money, no doubt. The plan detailed yoga classes, juice bars, mindfulness retreats, all built on the back of our savings. There were even mock-ups of a logo, a website, and a tagline, "Live your truth." I laughed, bitter and hollow. Live your truth. She was living a lie, and I was the collateral damage. The worst part? A note in the margin in her handwriting. Mark won't notice the transfers if we stagger them. She'd planned to bleed me her dry, slow, and steady while I was busy fixing her Wi-Fi. But that wasn't the lowest blow. I opened her email, my hands shaking so bad I could barely type. In her drafts, I found a message addressed to her parents, her sister, our mutual friends, a group BCC'd like she was sending a newsletter. The subject, Mark and I are parting ways. The email was a masterpiece of manipulation. Mark's been emotionally distant for years, it read. We tried everything, but we've grown apart. I need to prioritize my happiness. My blood boiled. Emotionally distant. I'd cooked her dinner every Sunday, held her when she cried over work stress, planned surprise trips to Estes Park, tried everything. She'd never once suggested counseling, never hinted we had a problem. And yet, here she was, painting me as the bad guy to everyone we knew. The email wasn't sent yet, but it was dated for tomorrow. She was ready to torch my reputation before I even had a chance to process her leaving. I sat there, staring at the screen, my chest tight. This wasn't just about James. She was rewriting our story, making me the villain in her shiny new life. Ever been stabbed in the back so hard you didn't feel it until you saw the blood? That was me. Reading that email, I thought about her parents, who'd always treated me like a son, getting that message. Our friends, who'd probably nod and say, yeah, Mark's always been kind of quiet. She was betting on my silence, my habit of keeping things private. She thought I'd just take it. I grabbed a USB drive from my desk, the one I used for work backups, and started downloading everything: photos, bank records, the business plan, screenshots of her email. My hands moved fast, mechanical, like I was on autopilot. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I wasn't letting her control the narrative. The MacBook's fan whirred, the only sound in the house. Emily was out. Another errand, probably with him. And I worked fast, my heart pounding like I was pulling off a heist. I labeled the folder insurance, tucked the USB into my pocket, and closed the laptop just as I heard her car pull into the driveway. Guess what she did when she walked in? Smiled like nothing was wrong. Hey, you eat yet? She asked, tossing her keys on the counter. I stared at her, this woman I'd loved for a decade, and felt nothing but rage. She'd taken my money, my memories, my trust, and now she wanted to take my name. But I didn't yell, didn't throw the USB in her face. I just nodded, said, not yet, and watched her breeze past, humming like she hadn't just burned our life to the ground. I slipped the USB into my desk drawer, my mind racing. She thought she'd won, thought she could walk away clean, but I was done being her doormat. She's got no idea what's coming, I thought, my jaw tight. I didn't know my next move, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going down without a fight. Emily thought she'd outsmarted me, but 9 years as an IT guy taught me how to manage information and how to weaponize it. What I did next unraveled her perfect plan without me breaking a sweat. A week after I'd copied her digital trail onto that USB, I was still living in a fog of anger and betrayal. Emily was still in the house, packing boxes with a smug little smile, like she was moving on to some dream life. She'd hum while folding her clothes, chat about the weather over coffee, acting like we were just roommates splitting amicably. Every word she said felt like sandpaper on my nerves. I'd seen the photos, the bank transfers, that damn email she'd drafted to smear me. She wasn't just leaving. She was trying to erase me, and I wasn't about to let her waltz away clean. I didn't need to scream or throw punches. That's not how you win a war like this. You hit where it hurts, and you do it quietly. My first move was Emily's parents. They'd always been good to me. Thanksgiving dinners, backyard barbecues, her dad teaching me how to grill a proper ribeye. They deserved to know who their daughter really was. I called her mom, Diane, on a Tuesday afternoon, keeping my voice casual. "Hey, Diane, just checking in," I said, leaning back at my desk. "Emily's been talking about this James guy from Pilates a lot. Sounds like they're close." I didn't accuse, didn't spill everything. Just planted the seed. Diane's tone shifted, a little too sharp. "James? She hasn't mentioned him?" I could hear the gears turning. "Oh, maybe it's nothing," I said, all innocence. "Just thought it was cool. She's into fitness now." 2 days later, Emily's phone was blowing up. I caught her in the kitchen, pacing, her face pale, as she hissed into the receiver. "Mom, it's not like that," she snapped, her voice cracking. I sipped my coffee, pretending to scroll on my phone, but I was listening to every word. Diane had checked their family credit card. Turns out Emily had used it for $3,247 worth of expenses tied to James. Dinners at swanky spots, a weekend spa trip, even a $500 consulting session at his studio. Diane wasn't buying Emily's excuses, and from the sound of it, her dad was livid. I heard his voice through the phone, loud and pissed. "You're throwing away a good man for some gym rat?" Emily's eyes darted to me, and for the first time I saw panic. She thought she'd controlled the story, but her own parents were turning on her. Ever been in a spot where you didn't have to lift a finger? And the truth did the work for you? That's what this felt like. Diane's call was just the start. My next move was James's precious wellness career. I knew his type. Guys like him thrived on image, all charm and no substance. So I made a few calls. Nothing dramatic, just a couple of well-placed conversations with folks in Denver's fitness scene. I'd met a few through Emily's marketing gigs, gym owners, event planners, people who knew people. "Hey, just a heads up," I'd say, all casual. "Heard some sketchy stuff about that James Wilson guy. Might want to check his references before booking him." I didn't lie, didn't spread rumors. I just let the grapevine do its thing. Within days, word was out. 2 of James's biggest clients, yoga moms with deep pockets, canceled their private sessions. A women's retreat dropped him as a guest speaker. I heard it through a buddy who knew one of the organizers. Nobody trusts a coach who's messy with money. James's empire was crumbling, and Emily was feeling the heat. She came home one night, her hair a mess, her eyes red. "What did you do, Mark?" she demanded, slamming her purse on the counter. "Why are people talking about James?" I leaned against the fridge, my arms crossed, and gave her a long look. "Sounds like consequences, Em," I said, my voice cold. "You picked a guy who can't keep his business clean. Not my fault." Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. "You're ruining everything," she spat, her voice shaking. I shrugged. "You did that yourself." That moment, her standing there, unraveling, while I stayed calm, was better than any shouting match. I didn't need to raise my voice. She'd built her castle on lies. And I was just flicking the first domino. The best part? I hadn't even used the USB yet. All that evidence, photos, bank records, her business plan with James, was still tucked in my desk, waiting for the right moment. I wasn't going to play dirty, unless I had to. For now, I was winning by letting her own choices bury her. Guess what happened next? James started pulling away. I didn't need to hack his phone to know it. Emily's mood told the story. She'd check her phone obsessively, her face falling when no text came. One night, I overheard her on the phone in the guest room, her voice low and desperate. "You can't just bail, James. We had a plan." Silence, then a choked sob. "You're seriously doing this to me?" I stood in the hallway, my jaw tight, fighting the urge to feel sorry for her. She'd made her bed. Let her lie in it. By the end of the week, Emily was a wreck. Her parents had cut her off the family card, and James was dodging her calls. She cornered me in the living room, her eyes wild. "You're talking to people, aren't you? Spreading lies about us?" I set down my laptop, looked her dead in the eye. "I don't need to lie, Emily. You gave everyone plenty to work with." She froze, her hands balling into fists. "You're pathetic," she hissed. "You can't handle me moving on." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Moving on? You stole my money, trashed my name, and picked a loser who's already ghosting you. You're not moving on. You're crashing." She stormed out, the front door slamming so hard a picture frame rattled. I sat there, the house quiet again, and felt something shift. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't drowning in her betrayal. I was in control, not by yelling or begging, but by letting her world implode on its own. Ever feel that rush when you realize you don't need someone anymore? That was me, staring at the door she'd slammed, knowing I was done being her pawn. I walked to my desk, pulled out the USB, and turned it over in my hand. I hadn't needed it yet, but it was there, a loaded gun if she pushed me further. For now, I'd let her parents' anger and James's cowardice do the heavy lifting. I leaned back, the Denver skyline twinkling through the window, and let out a long breath. I lost everything, I thought, but I'm free. Emily thought she'd broken me, but she'd only shown me how strong I could be. 6 months after Emily tried to rewrite my life, she sent me a text begging for forgiveness. My response? "It'll surprise you because nobody saw this coming." Not even me. I'd moved out of our old house in the Denver suburbs, leaving behind the ghosts of our marriage. I found a studio apartment downtown, $1,200 a month. Small, but mine. No more shared spaces, no more pretending. The place had big windows, letting in the hum of the city, horns, laughter, life. I started over, piece by piece. Joined a hiking group on Meetup, sweaty treks up red rocks that left my legs burning and my head clear. Signed up for a cooking class, learned I love the kick of cayenne in my chili. Discovered jazz clubs, the kind Emily always called pretentious. I'd sit in dimly lit bars, nursing a beer, letting the saxophone wash over me. Turns out, I like spicy food and soulful music, things she'd never cared for. Funny how you find yourself when someone stops telling you who you are. Meanwhile, Emily's world was collapsing. James ghosted her, predictably, trading her in for some new fling he met at a yoga retreat. I heard it through a mutual friend. Emily showed up at his studio, yelling only to find he'd blocked her number. Her marketing job? Gone. Her boss caught wind of her wellness side hustle and didn't appreciate her moonlighting. She moved back to her parents' place in Aurora, sleeping in her childhood bedroom, drowning in $15,000 of credit card debt from her spree with James. Her mom, Diane, called me once, her voice heavy. "I don't know who she is anymore, Mark." I didn't say much, just listened. What could I say? Emily had torched her own life. Then, one night, my phone pinged. I was sprawled on my couch, half watching a Nuggets game, when her name lit up the screen. "Mark, I'm so sorry." The text read. "James left me. I messed up. I miss our life." My thumb hovered over the keyboard, her words sinking in. I could picture her, alone in her parents' house, typing through tears. Part of me, the part that loved her for 9 years, felt a pang, but it faded fast. I screenshot the text, saved it to my insurance folder, and deleted the message. No reply. She didn't deserve one. Ever get a chance to confront someone who broke you, but realize they're not worth it? That was me, staring at my phone, the game droning in the background. Emily wanted absolution, a way to rewrite the story again. But I wasn't her redemption arc. I was done playing her games. I leaned back, the city lights glinting outside. 6 months ago, I thought she'd ruin me. Now, I was hiking with new friends, cooking meals I actually liked, finding rhythm in a life I'd built alone. She'd taken our savings, our memories, my trust, but she couldn't take me. I thought about the USB, still in my desk, untouched since I'd let her parents and James's clients dismantle her plans. I hadn't needed it. Her own choices had been enough. What would you say to someone who betrayed you? Then came crawling back. I didn't need to say anything. My silence was louder than any words. I stood, grabbed my jacket, and headed to a jazz spot down the street. The band was playing something slow, mournful, but it didn't feel sad. It felt like freedom. Emily was a shadow, a lesson I'd learned and left behind. Happiness isn't forgiving or fighting. It's knowing you're tougher than the things that tried to break you.